Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning, afternoon, evening, and night to everyone. Quick question before we start. Have you ever imagined yourself being a superhero? Or maybe a pilot? Or maybe even a secret agent? While in reality, you're just in the class? If yes, you will definitely relate to today's story. The title is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty by James Thurber. A hilarious and relatable tale of a man whose daydreaming are more exciting than his real life. So, let's jump right in. But before that, my name is Nur Ainabila binti Muhammad Nazri. So let's take a look on the short story information first. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty is a short story written by James Thurber, published in 1939 in The New Yorker. Thurber was a famous humorist and satirist, often writing about the struggles of ordinary men in modern society world. To escape his dull reality, he started to create an imagination in his mind where he became a professional surgery, where he became a commander, a brave commander, and also so let's take a look on the next slide. The story begins with one of Mitty's fantasies where he began to imagine himself as a commander, as a brave commander. In his daydream, he hears someone talking. "We're going through." The commander voice was like thin ice breaking. The old man afraid of hell, but reality cuts when his wife, Mrs. Mitty, interrupt him with, "Not so fast, you're driving too fast." This sudden switch highlight both comedy and the tragedy of the story. How Mitty sees himself as a hero inside, but in reality, he is just constantly subdued.
Thank you, Ayn, for explanation. Next, we're going through for plot and Freitag triangle. First, exposition. Walter Mitty drives his wife into town. He retreats into his first daydream as a naval commander braving a storm. We're going through. This immediately establishes his dual existence. Outwardly, a timid husband. "Not so fast. You're driving too fast," said Miss Mitty, but inwardly, a heroic figure. Second, rising action. As he runs errands, each mundane task triggers another fantasy. At the hospital, he imagines himself as a brilliant surgeon saving a millionaire banker. "If you're ever going to see your husband again, you'll have to perform the operation now." Later, a courtroom headline sparks his dream of being a fearless sharpshooter. Reality, however, repeatedly interrupts him. A parking attendant taking over his car. "Leave her sit there, I will put her away." And a cop scolding him, "Pick it up, brother." Third, climax. Mitty's grandest fantasy emerges as he imagines himself as a soldier facing a suicide mission. "It's 40 kilometers through hell, sir." His heroism peaks as he embraces danger calmly. "The old man will get us through." This moment represents the height of his inner triumph. Next, number 4 and 5. For the number 4, falling action. Rain begins to fall, and Mitty stands outside the hotel waiting for his wife. He is small, drenched, and passive, a sharp contrast to his fantasy self. Miss Mitty's controlling voice again drags him back. "Why do you have to hide in this old chair?" Number 5, or the last for plot and Freitag triangle, which is resolution. In his final vision, Mitty faced a firing squad, standing proud and fearless. Walter Mitty, the undefeated, inscrutable to the last. Though reality has not changed, his imagination gives him dignity. His inner world remains his only escape from ordinariness. Thank you.
So, let's take a look on the settings. We have two settings. The first one is real world setting, and the second one is the fantasy. Let's take a look on the real world first. So Mitty, the main character, lives in Waterbury, Connecticut. Not exactly the city of dreams. His daily life? Parking lots, grocery store, or even hair salons. Even A parking attendant looks like a superhero compared to him. So, poor guy cannot catch a break. But in his head, a whole different story just began. Suddenly, he is flying planes through hurricanes, performing impossible surgeries, and starting into curb with a giant gun. But the reality is, Mitty was queuing in the grocery store.
Now I will continue the slide. Let's look at the characters and characteristics. First, we have the main character, Walter Mitty. In real life, he is timid, passive, and often humiliated by others. For example, he says things like, what's its name? Which shows his absent-mindedness. Besides, he is also infantilized, just as Mrs. Mitty said, I'm going to take your temperature when I get you home. Lastly is public humiliation. A cop scolds him with, pick it up, brother, which shows how little respect he gets. In his imagination, Walter is the complete opposite. He is confident, brave, and admired, like a brilliant surgeon or a fearless soldier. For instance, in the fantasy, he becomes Walter Mitty, the undefeated indestructible for the last. Next is Mrs. Mitty. Mrs. Mitty is practical, controlling, and nagging. She constantly reminds Walter of his weaknesses, like when she says, "You're no longer a young man." She represents both love and control, but mainly pulls him back into reality whenever he dreams. Moreover, minor characters like the cop, the parking attendant, and the clerk also embarrass Walter and remind him of his low status in society. For example, the attendant says, "Leave her seat there, I'll put her away," showing how even strangers take over Walter's world. And last one, in contrast, the fantasy characters like the doctors, soldiers, or the courtroom audience who admire and respect him. They call him brilliant, heroic, and dependable. These imaginary characters highlight the kind of recognition Walter wishes he had in real life. That's all for me.
So, next we're moving on to conflicts. Conflicts is divided by two. The first one, external conflict, and second one is internal. So, what we have here is external conflict, which is character versus character. In this case, shows that Walter Mitty's conflict with his wife, he is dominated in his marriage because she treats him more like a child than a husband. This explains why he escaped into his fantasies. Okay. Second, we have also external conflict, which is character versus society. Walter Mitty also struggles with society. He is humiliated by strangers and they treat him as if he is useless. This shows how low his status in the world outside his home. Last but not least, we have internal conflicts, which is character versus fate or destiny. In his Final Fantasy, facing the firing squad, he imagined himself as Walter Mitty the Undefeated. This shows that his last attempt to escape his ordinary life. That's all from me. I'll be passing this slide into the next person.
Thank you, Rashika, for explanation. I'm back for point of view or POV, third person point of view. That POV is used in this short story. The secret life of Walter Mitty is told in third person limited omniscient. The narrator does not speak as Mitty himself, but gives the reader direct access to Mitty's inner fantasies and thoughts, while other characters like Miss Mitty, the cop, the attendant are described only externally. The evidence. The evidence is in the hydroplane fantasy. We are inside Mitty's imagination. We're going through The commander's voice was like thin ice breaking, but immediately the narrator shifts back to external reality. Not so fast. You're driving too fast, said Miss Mitty.
Next, I will be presenting about the themes found in James Thurber's short story, which is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. So, the themes are the central ideas that the author wants us to reflect on, and in this story, there are several strong themes appear. So, the first theme is insecurity. Like one of the main theme is insecurity, which is in real life, Walter Mitty is constantly belittled by his wife, by strangers, and even by society. And for example, his wife reminds him that he is no longer young, and a policeman shouts at him to hurry up. So these moments show how insecure and powerless he feels, which is why he escapes into heroic fantasies. So the second theme is isolation. Okay, so even though Walter is married, he feels emotionally alone. Like his wife treats him more like a child than a partner, and society ignores or mocks him. So, in his daydreams, however, he is admired, respected, and surrounded by loyal companions. So, it makes something he never experienced in reality. So, the third theme is courage. Um, So, in his fantasies, Walter imagines himself as a brave commander, or a brilliant surgeon, or a fearless soldier. Like these imaginary roles allow him to embody the courage that he cannot show in real life. So this contrast highlights his longing for recognition. So the fourth theme is loneliness. So like closely linked to isolation, the theme of loneliness emphasizes how disconnected Walter is from those around him. Like his fantasies are not only about courage, but also about escaping his loneliness and ordinary existence. And the last theme is identity. Like finally the story explores about identity, and Walter Mitty struggles between two identities, which is the first one is his real self, who is timid and submissive, and his fantasy self, who is powerful and heroic. That is the second one. So this conflict reflects his dissatisfaction with his life and his search for meaning. So, in conclusion, the themes of insecurity, isolation, courage, loneliness, and identity all shape Walter Mitty's character and make the story timeless. So, they remind us that imagination can be both a form of escape and a way to cope with the struggles of ordinary life. So I think that's all from me. I will pass the slide to the next person. Thank you.
Let's take a look at literary devices. Literary devices are divided by four, which is number one is irony. Irony shows the difference between Mitty's big dreams and his small, powerless life. For the second, we have symbolism. Symbolism shows that his dream represents his secret wishes, and the firing squad shows both death and pride. For the third one, we have illusion. Illusion make his fantasy sound real, but also remind us that his real life is ordinary. Last but not least, we have imagery, which is imagery bring his daydreams with sounds and pictures so we can see him as a hero. That's all from me.